Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yollanda Susilawati with student number 2005125590. I'm from 6C class from public speaking course, and in this video I want to tell you about my speech with the title is Emergency Sexual Violence Against Children in Educational Settings. Okay, cases of sexual violence in Indonesia have increased from year to year, and victims are not only adults, but experienced by children and even toddlers. The phenomenon of sexual violence against children is increasingly common and has become global in almost every country in the world. The increase in cases of sexual violence was not only in terms of the quantity of or number of cases that occurred, but in terms of quality there was also an increase. And what's even worse, the perpetrators come from child's close environment, which is an expected educational environment. Schoolrooms, campus, even Islamic boarding schools, which should be safe space for students to gain knowledge are but now no longer safe and sterile place from sexual predators. The Indonesian Child Protection Commission, or KPAI, has recorded of the number of reports of cases of sexual violence against children in Indonesia throughout 2023. There are 190 complaints, 19 complaints. During the range of January until February, there were more than 100 cases of sexual violence experienced by children. Jasa Putra, as the head of Supervision Monitoring and Evaluation Division of the Indonesian Child Protection Commission, or KPAI, said, at most more than 50% are issues of violence against children, both physical, psychological, and sexual. The remaining cases are related to violence of children right from cluster 1 until 4 during January until February. Children are a group that is very vulnerable to sexual violence because children are always positioned as weak or powerless and have a high dependence on the adults around them. This makes children helpless when threatened not to tell what happened. Child victims of sexual violence are vulnerable to experiencing unfavorable psychological conditions. Victims can fall into a state of depression, trauma, anxiety, and fear so much that they encourage suicide, have a negative self-concept, destroy the self-esteem, blame themselves, and have a negative impact on their academic life as well. Furthermore, socially victims who are older children or adolescents are also at risk of receiving negative stigma and victims blaming from society. The factors that cause the rise of sexual harassment that occurs in the school environment are: first, lack of attention and handling from the government and related parties. The government tends to consider cases of sexual abuse against children as something that is not important. Even schools-related parties often cover up to silence cases involving the name of the school in order to maintain the good name of the school or agency. When the case has been spoken up and made viral, only then will the case be uncovered and only then will the government handle it. 2. There is a relation of power and opportunity, such as the teacher being more dominant over his students causes a teacher to have the potential to commit acts of sexual violence. In this case, the victim is often under threat from the perpetrator, for example, being threatened not to go to a grade, dropping grades, and other threats. 3. Low self-control and the impulsive attitude of the perpetrators, resulting in a very low level of rational thinking. 4. Involvement in social media where the perpetrator often consumes pornographic content and which triggers sexual fantasies, and this is not cancelled which leads to sexual violence. Sexual violence against children in the school environment can be fought in several ways, such as first, improving the quality of school safety and tightening the qualification of teaching staff both academically and non-academic. Fourth, before sending children to school, it's better of a parent to sort out the school you want to go to. Pay attention to what kind of cultures is implemented by the schools, the mindset that is taught, and how the social life in the school environment. The 3. Providing sexual physical education for an early age. Revealing experience of sexual violence is not easy. Children don't have understand that they are sexual objects of adults. This is where the role of parents becomes important. Parents must explain that sexual violence at school can be experienced by children in the form of touching, like kissing, sexual comments or jokes, and so on. In addition, parents might teach children to report to parents or teachers they trust if they experience this condition. 4. Provide criminal sanctions to the perpetrators of sexual violence. The prohibition of sexual violence in the world of education is regulated in Article 76D, which states that everyone is prohibited from committing violence of threats. Violence to force a child to have intercourse with him or another person. The 4 acts that are regularly prohibited will be subject to criminal sanction as regulated in Article 81, paragraph 1 to 3, which states that anyone who violates the provision referred to in Article 76D shall be punished with imprisonment for a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 15 years, and a fine, a maximum of 5 billion rupees. It is not easy to prevent sexual violence against children in the educational environment, but there is a strong commitment from both the education unit and the government as a regulator, plus social supervision from the community. Let's all take care of ourselves and our family to prevent sexual violence in educational setting, so that students can feel safe and study in peace and comfort. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.